My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Oh,
Okay.
Nice.
Interesting timing because Caden, you have it's kind of gone down in your estimations, right?
yeah, it has, to be honest. What
Why? How come it doesn't work as much for you now?
Still feel like I have to articulate it, but like to put it simply, I think I said in the chat that it just doesn't hit me as hard emotionally anymore. Um, like I respect the hell out of the ambition, and there's still songs on there still really resonate pretty strongly, like "Devil in a New Dress" and "Dark Fantasy." Specifically, those two for some reason stood out to me on this listen. But I don't know. It almost feels like inconsistent to me. I don't know. I'd have to think about it some more. Um, it's almost like the flow of it is a little bizarre. I mean, like I said, I still respect the hell out of the ambition, and even like what he was able to achieve sonically is impressive. But it just doesn't feel that special for me anymore. Anyway, what about you? Like, what makes it number three for you?
First of all, I do see what you're saying about it flow wise. It is very like he has a song like "Runaway," which is piano singing, and then right after that, then there's like a rock rap thing. I do get what you're saying in that sense. But for me, as I said in the unreleased podcast, I just love that grandeur to it, the grand orchestral vibe that's going on, and then the way he combines that with a mixture of this deep dive into him and his persona and everything, and then also how that relates and intertwines with the modern society at the time. It's just such a rich album for me on all levels, musically, thematically, and obviously then has some of his best rapping of his career for me with songs like "Gorgeous." And then there's also the really cool creative ones as well, unlike anything we've heard from him before or since, like "Runaway," and also in Blame Game as well. The second verse of Blame Game, where it's literally like him rapping, but each line comes from a different ear, and like,
Yeah,
just so many
Yeah.
interesting ideas going on there, and it all comes together. Like I said, to create this cool picture of both him as a man and him and the society at the time, which is why I like the Marshall Mathers LP. It just really makes it really makes the album age in an interesting way for me thematically, and then obviously, like I said, musically as well. It's just really all comes together for me.
Eminem keeps getting referenced.
Well, luckily he's not in my top five in this instance, so there's that. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
What
um,
if, or should we ask
that's it.
John?
Yeah, what was John?
Well, let me talk
How
about
he listens
Eminem
to it?
first. No, no. Obviously, it was hard not to put it in my top five. Um, it's definitely probably Kanye's objectively best album. Um, it took so many risks. It was right on the heels of like his Taylor Swift thing, and he was like almost blacklisted from being cool, but he turned that.
808 as well, which wasn't well received till years later.
Yeah, and he just turned all of it on his head and proved everybody wrong. And we got that amazing verse from Nicki. We got that
Oh yeah,
amazing verse from Rick Ross, which you can't say very often.
yeah,
Yeah.
um,
Huh.
but when I'm in a Kanye mood, uh, this album it just satisfies every Kanye craving I have, and it's whenever I dive into it, it's really hard to get out of and listen to something else. It's just so well done, and it's one of those albums where I feel like, um, you know, I usually find new things every time I listen to it. Like usually within the instrumentation.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I totally agree. With Lost, was it Lost in the World? I remember that's one of those songs again. We kind of running theme in this podcast where at first that sounds like a mess to me. Then the more I listened to it, the more I picked up more things, and the more it just all came together. But that's really it's a ton of replay value for me, interestingly, because it doesn't for Caden, I guess. But yeah, it's
It's a
really
really
interesting how that
epic.
works. Huh?
Yeah, it's a really epic sounding song.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
think the
like at
album
the
as a whole
end,
is very epic.
at the end of the song, where it's like he's almost like going, huh, huh, just over and over again.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it adds to it, and he pulls it off, which is really cool.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of really unique ideas there. Like I said as well, the Blame Game second verse, which is like, I remember the first time I heard that, I thought it was like a transition skit thing. It never even occurred to me it was actually a verse. Whereas like, jumping from ear to ear and everything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on there. It's really, really good album.
I definitely agree. Yeah, a lot of interesting things going on throughout the album.
Then you have Chris Rock's like 2-minute thing.
Yeah.
Usually skip that. Like it's a really, I think it's a really funny thing, but like when you've heard it 100 times, it's
It's old.
Yeah. I mean, as skits tend to.
I think usually the issue with a skit would be if it goes on too long. Like, maybe this is a subjective thing, but if it goes on too long, then it's for its own good, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I would argue Blame Game does that skit at the end. I think it's closer to 3 minutes. I could be wrong, but it does feel like it goes on too long for its own good. But if it's just like, I don't know, a minute or shorter of a skit and it's kind of helps push along the album flow, then it's fine. I would argue Chris Rock's skit doesn't really help the album flow.
That's on point.
Probably enhances the reason to want to skip. Skits.
That's very on point. Because thinking about it, I do listen to like the first like 30 seconds, whatever, and then I realize that there's still 2 minutes left, so that's when I skip it. Then.
Yeah, there's that satisfaction you get though when you do complete it.
I guess, yeah.